So thank you for attending this month's educational webinar brought to you by the Northwest Chamber of Commerce here in the Owings Mills area of Maryland. We are happy to have our member Frank Gorecki of FG Home Inspections, and we're happy to have him today share all of his knowledge with us so that we know how healthy our home actually is. And by saying that, I mean the structure, the equipment inside, what to look for, things like that. So we only have 30 minutes, so I don't want to take too much time. FG Home Inspections has been helping investors as well as homeowners in the Baltimore metro area since 2017. Frank has been part of the trades directly for decades, so he has a lot of knowledge that he brings to all of his home inspections. So I will stop talking and let Frank take over. So Frank, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Kathleen, and good morning to everybody that's watching this live, and hello to everybody that's watching this at some point in the future. My name is Frank Gorecki, and I own and operate FG Home Inspections. And I am a lifelong Baltimore resident. I was born and raised in Baltimore, and with the exception of a couple of years going to school in the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia at a small school named Shepherd University. I've lived in Baltimore my whole life, and so I'm in love with the city. And the fact that the Ravens are as consistently good as they are, and the Orioles are finally great, just gives me a great feeling about everything this spring. But we're going to talk about the Baltimore market. We're going to talk about Baltimore real estate, and we're going to talk a little bit about home inspections today. So I'm just going to run down a quick outline of what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk a little bit about me and my business and my history. We're going to talk a little bit about what is a home inspection and why they are important. We're going to talk about the market and then some investment advice and inspections. So back to about me. As I said, I'm a lifelong Baltimore resident. I started FG Home Inspections in 2017. I was at the time a project manager for a successful plumbing company in Baltimore. I started there as a service plumber and kind of worked my way up through the ranks, and eventually was managing multiple crews on multiple different renovations and remodel projects all throughout the Baltimore region. And I was working in the office a lot to do that, to pull permits, to coordinate schedules. And when I was in that office, I saw inspection paperwork floating around, whether it was punch lists for realtor clients or inspection reports that needed a plumber to verify findings. I saw these and I was intrigued. So it wasn't much longer until I was sitting in a classroom getting my license and eventually taking the test. And in 2017, FG Home Inspections was born. And since I've joined the Northwest Chamber of Commerce, of which I'm a proud member, several different other organizations in the area. I teach continuing ed for the Greater Baltimore Board of Realtors, and I try to give back to my community whenever I can as a home inspector. So this is part of that. This is me trying to give out some valuable information and advice. In addition to my home inspection career, I am also an active freelance trumpet player in the Baltimore area. I play a couple of times every season with the Baltimore Symphony Pops. I do a lot with different wedding and reception bands, corporate bands in the area. I'm active in the church music scene with lots of different brass at Easter, Christmas time, and special events. So you may have even seen me on Netflix. Ask me about that sometime. And so my music is very much a part of my life as well. But it's all tied together by my family. I have a wonderful, supportive wife, Carrie, and two amazing boys, Frank and Benjamin, who are middle school and still in elementary school age. And they're learning all about home inspections through my chatter when I come home talking about my day. And who knows, maybe one day it'll be FG and Sons home inspections. So why are home inspections important? Well, obviously because they find defects that can be caught before they become a major problem. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. I'd like for you to think of your home as you would your own body. And so when you go to the doctor, you want to make sure that everything's okay. You're going to get your vital signs checked. You're going to get blood pressure. You're going to get your temperature, your pulse. And those vital signs give you an idea of how your baseline health is. And from there, you talk to your general physician, your main doctor about any ailments you may have. And in many cases, if you have a funky looking mole that popped up on your shoulder, it's a dermatologist that you go see. If you have digestive issues, you might go see a gastro specialist. So it's very much the same way when it comes to your home. And the home inspector is like that general practitioner, that home-based doctor, where I can take a look at your HVAC and your plumbing and your roofing and kind of put together an idea of your home's health. These systems often work in conjunction with one another. So if you have a faulty foundation and it happens to shift during some settlement, then it could affect the structure above it. And the windows could no longer be square. So the windows might not be defective themselves, but a result of the settlement underneath could have shifted things. So it's important when finding defects, not just to find the defect itself, but to find potential sources and potential remedies to those defects. That's when a home inspector will refer out to a specialist, a qualified professional of some sort. That's when I say something like, this is leaking, from the drain line, and you'll need a plumber for some further evaluation and repair on that. Now, at the end of the home inspection, a report gets compiled and sent to the client, and that can be used for a number of reasons. It can be used for negotiations. It can be used for if the deal that people are in is something more along the lines of an as-is offer, with in that case, then it's just more of a to-do list. So a home inspection is going to be something that's going to list all those defects and what to do next with them. So any homeowner, especially a new homeowner, is going to want to have that list at hand to budget for future repairs, to take care of any defects before they move in, etc. So moving on a little bit toward the market. The market is interesting right now because there's a couple of different factors at play. The main factor right now driving the market is the low inventory. Everyone's talking about interest rates. The main factor, I believe, is the low inventory. And it's all interconnected, like the systems in your home. But low inventory drives the prices up higher. And when the prices are high, when you combine that with the high interest rates, you get many home buyers, people that don't have to move, deciding that they're going to wait. Now, whether that's a wise move or not is a question for a realtor, not for a home inspector. And I suggest finding a knowledgeable realtor that will guide you through this exciting sometimes scary market. Um, and I've seen all sorts of skills come through in when it comes to real estate agents. There are some agents. I did an inspection last week for a deal in a very hot neighborhood. It was a really nice house. I know that there were multiple offers, and for whatever reason, this agent, they won out and they got a home inspection and they were negotiating repairs. And anyone who follows real estate in this market, um, late April 2024, knows that that's kind of impressive for an agent to be able to get repairs negotiated. Many times there are multiple offers that are coming in, much higher than asking, sometimes 30, 35, 40% over asking. And you're getting a lot of protections that get waived. Sometimes they say, okay, not only are we going to pay $25,000 more than you're asking on this house, but in order to make a smooth transaction, we're going to waive our inspection. And um, and sometimes a seller will find that attractive because maybe they don't want a defect found. They don't want to have to um, have a bump in the road. And what ends up happening is these folks, they move in and they kind of get sideswiped with an HVAC replacement, 1 year in, not knowing that their HVAC was on its last legs. It just happened to be working the day they walked through. Um, they might have a roof that might look fine, but once you take a good look under the attic, you see that the all the nails have condensation on them, and there is rust spots on every single nail penetration, making the roof age much faster than it would under normal conditions. There are all sorts of inspection related defects that will get missed and really could save homeowners a lot of anguish and heartache when it comes to the repairs in their home. Nobody likes an unpleasant surprise. Anytime someone wants to surprise you, want a room full of your friends and family and a cake. Nobody wants to come home to plumbing leaking into the home, or a roof shingle blowing off, or anything like that. So, but we want to avoid surprises. And so if you are someone who maybe waived your inspection to get the deal done, there are a lot of solutions that you can still get a home inspection on your home. Popular myth about home inspections is that they have to be part of the sale, and that's not the case. You can get a home inspection on your own home even if you have no intention on moving. You have every right to find out the condition of your HVAC, your water heater, your drain lines, your water supply lines, your windows, doors, your foundation, your roof, gutters, all that stuff. And if you know the condition of that stuff, then you can budget appropriately. You can say, all right, let's take that nicer vacation because all of our systems are in order. We're not anticipating any replacements for quite some time. Um, and those kinds of surprises, the surprise HVAC replacement, nobody likes. It's always on the hottest or coldest day of the year. You only find out about a roof leak when it's raining. So rather than wait for those unpleasant surprises, get ahead of the game and have somebody like me or some other highly qualified home inspector come in and take a look at your property and give you give you those vital signs. It's such a small expense compared to replacing a water heater or having a foundation repaired. It really is worth it. Um, so waiving home inspections is kind of part of that market. The other side of the market is that because a lot of home buyers are waiting for the market to change or for there to be more availability, um, combine that with the higher prices, and you have a lot of investor clients coming in. You have, um, the ability to buy the home at the asking price or even above. You can waive all your protections because you're going to gut it and put in builder grade everything and turn it into a rental, um, and and make some profit off of it. Well, the investing side of things has really led to an interesting dynamic when it comes to rent. Rent. If any renters are watching this, looking to potentially buy a home, you know that the rent has been sky high, and it's been just ridiculous. Uh, I know that my next door neighbor um, pays almost three times my mortgage in his rent. And yeah, I bought years ago, but it baffles me every time we talk about stuff like that. And so if you're looking to become a homeowner and get out of that rent cycle, um, knowing the condition of your home and budgeting for any replacements or maintenance, that's gonna give you a leg up rather than be another speed bump along the road. So speaking about investment, if there are any investors watching this, there are a load of hoops that you have to jump through. In Baltimore City, in Baltimore County, both jurisdictions, you need to have a license in order to rent your property out. And in order to obtain that license, you need to have a home inspector like me come and do a baseline checklist. It's about a dozen items: basic health and safety, no electrical wires, no leaks under plumbing, no evidence of rodents, basic health and safety, railings on your steps. And so by getting these rental licensing inspections done, Baltimore City, Baltimore County are providing safer homes for the tenants. Along with rental inspections comes lead paint testing. And if there are any properties built before 1978, then they need to be either certified as lead free, meaning that they've had an extensive test certifying that there's no lead paint that remains at all, or they can have what's called full risk reduction, which is where in between every tenant, dust wipes are taken and the level of lead is verified in between each tenancy. And depending on the history of your property, one may be better than the other. But those are two types of inspections that a lot of wannabe or novice landlords don't consider. And a perfect example of that just happened this past week. I was working with a client who called, who just settled on a home. He waived the home inspection because he was going to be an investor and it didn't really matter to him the condition of the home. So he waived his home inspection, and then he had me come in to do the rental and the lead paint. Well, he didn't read all the regulations, and he had tenants in there before the lead paint test was even done, and that's just straight up illegal. So a lot of times people that are planning to be landlords are crunching numbers. They're not reading regulations. And so someone like me, who's familiar with them, can help guide landlords through that sometimes confusing process. Um, so I wanted to summarize just a little bit about what we talked about today. It was the basic components of a home inspection, from foundation to roof, all the different systems and how they work together. Obviously, they're important because not only do they find defects in the moment, but they can help be a preventive maintenance item. Things like a to-do list is what I often call my home inspection report, as it's given to clients. And consider the analogy I made with the doctors. The general physician versus the podiatrist, or the general physician versus the oncologist. There are people that have their specialties: electricians, plumbers, roofers, and then there are the first line of defense. And I'm happy to help anybody identify any of those specialists. If you need any referrals, I can help you find some excellent trade professionals, as I once was one. And then we talked a little bit about the market, what the low inventory, high prices, and high interest rates are doing, how they're leading to waived home inspections and an increased investor activity. And then I talked a little bit about the investment related inspections and regulations. So if anybody has any questions at this point, I'm happy to answer any. And if anybody's watching this in the future, up here on the your upper right should be my contact information, and I'm happy to be a resource to anybody that's watching this now or later.
So Frank, thanks so much for that information. We do have a few questions and comments. The first question is, how important is checking for radon? When we purchased our home 11 years ago, it was offered at an extra cost. So what's your thought about that?
So radon is it's actually the second leading cause of lung cancer, second only to smoking. So it is a concern for some people. The science behind it, some people may say, is iffy. I don't get into the debate between it, but I do offer radon testing. I do think it's important to check for all elements. The typical radon test, when it's related to real estate, is a 48-hour test, and they place a canister in the basement, and it measures either electronically or by other means the radon level, and then you find out if it's actionable or not. If it's above a certain level, the EPA suggests that you get mitigation, which is relatively inexpensive. There are tests that are more long-term, which are much more accurate. A 6-month test is certainly going to be more accurate than a 48-hour test. 48-hour tests sometimes can be affected by weather. If there were recent rains, even humidity levels can affect radon readings. So just because something passed doesn't necessarily mean it's safe, and vice versa.
Perfect. We have a comment. First it was a question and then you answered the question, so now it's a comment. They were wondering if you did a general home health checkup, and then you shared with us that you do that. And they were saying that they were considering getting one because they were looking at maybe selling their home, and wanted to know the status of their home. When you do those home health checkups, what are the main systems that you're looking for? And what are the kind of clues that a homeowner might look for that it would make sense for you to come in? Like, are there certain things that are going wrong or things that they're seeing that might make sense for you to take a look at?
Sure, sure. So there's two things going on here. The first is that I do have to let whoever know that as a seller, you are supposed to disclose anything that you know about the home in terms of, defects, renovations, replacements, things of that nature. That being said, I don't know if I've ever seen a disclosure sheet with anything on it. So moving on from there, as a seller, a lot of my first home inspections were for sellers, and to get an idea of your home or what a home inspector might find, I've kind of modified the home inspection to be like a 1 hour ask me anything. Now, no tools are used. I'm not opening up the electrical panel. I'm not getting on the roof, anything like that. But what I'm doing during that hour is kind of taking a look at everything, telling you what a home inspector might find. Um, and for a seller, that could be really important because if they fix some of the bigger stuff ahead of time, every home's going to have defects, even brand new construction. So if you fix some of the bigger stuff ahead of time, yeah, let the buyer's inspector find something, find a couple of smaller defects, and then from there it's not a big deal. Rather than, oh no, the HVAC needs to be replaced, or oh no, the roof is on its last legs. If those things are done proactively and they're in great condition at the time of inspection, then the buyer has a lot more confidence moving forward.
Great. We have about a minute left. Last question is, what are the top 2 or 3 things that a homeowner, current homeowner that wants to stay in their house, what are the top 2 or 3 things that they can do to make sure that they're not going to have a huge expense? They're going to wake up to a huge expense.
Sure, sure. The easiest thing that any homeowner can do, and I'm surprised that more people don't do it, is change the HVAC filters. And anytime I'm on an inspection and the filter's there, I'll pull it out just to get an idea of, how bad it is. And they're always just clogged up, dirty, gray as could be, just the color of my shirt, just gross. And so, you can get the filters that are super restrictive and filter out all the particles. Um, what I do is I get the ones that are kind of on the I wouldn't say the lower end, but they're less restrictive, but I replace them on the first Saturday of every month. It's just part of what I do. I have to practice what I preach. And I've noticed that since doing that, that my overall indoor air quality is better. And I would argue that anybody that got those numbers tested officially by an indoor air quality person would probably, those findings would probably agree.
Well, Frank, we really appreciate you taking time today to share your knowledge with us. 30 minutes goes real quickly, and we are at the end. So anybody that would like to take another look or share this with anyone, it will be on our YouTube channel. So I appreciate all the attendees for joining us today. And of course, Frank, for you sharing all of your background and your expertise with us. So look for us for next month. We'll have another expert here for our webinar, and everybody have a wonderful day.